Well, this is my new camera. I bought it to replace the even cheaper one that I originally bought that was pretty much broken to pieces along with the GorillaPod tripod. So I've tried to come up with a different way of making a stand. Anyway, I got this little flexible shaft, whatever, doohickey. I took apart an old lamp and I ended up with 3 of these little flex thingies, which are pretty rigid. They'll hold position fairly well wherever you want to move them. So what I've decided to do, I haven't figured out how I'm going to work the base, although this little hunk of pipe will help me work that out. Anyway, 1/4-20 bolt, and somewhere in this pile of junk, there we go, I've got a wing nut that I'll put on there upside down so the wings are facing the end of the bolt. Anyway, what I'm going to do is weld that to the end, and then I'll figure out the base later. Haven't decided whether to weld it to a clamp or something, or I don't know. I'll figure that out. Anyway, I just thought I'd give you a little quick look at me welding this thing together. Nice little tack. Do that again. Let's try a slightly different angle. Come on, focus. There we go. Lost my ground? There we go. 4 amps. Ew, ugly. Trying to keep this thing in position for you to see it. Getting difficult. Something fairly heavy to hold that down. Let's see. Let's try that. Nope. Sharp. Let's try think that tip's a little, almost had it. I'll just keep going with it there. It ain't the prettiest weld, but it is there. Well, now you've got a better idea of what I've done. I know the welds are really ugly, but it'll do the job. Well, here's the flexible shaft with the wing nut on it so I can mount the camera. And I thought one way I could attach it was to use one of these clamps. They're pretty strong. Got a fairly wide opening. I can actually put it on that 1.5 inches. But I thought I'd drill a hole, say right about there. It does have a hole right there, but if I wanted to get the clamp all braced up against here, that wouldn't be usable. So I figured I'd drill a hole and mount it something sort of like that. And by drilling a hole instead of welding, that would also allow me to use it on find other ways of mounting the shaft, or also to use this clamp when I need to for other jobs, and who knows what else. Anywho, well, this is one of there we go. This is one of the little pieces that was on the lamp, so I've got a nut and a lock washer and a little threaded shaft that screws right in. So I'm going to put it right about there somewhere. Anyway, so let's do it. Oh, that worked. Tighten it down a little further next time, Jeff. Nice little step bit. See what size do I need. That's going to be up to, I guess, about a 3/8 hole. We'll see. Let's see, does that fit? Uh-oh. There went the lock washer. Okay. So I imagine I'm going to have to cut this thing down a little bit. There we go. Sort of interesting filming the other end of the shaft. Need to find out how far this will go down in there and mark it and cut it. So that goes in about that far, that far. So, where'd my Sharpie go? There it is. I'll cut it off about there. Don't want to lose my lock washer again. Had fun chasing that down. You know how things are. They always roll to the most inaccessible location possible. So, to avoid damaging the threads, I don't care about that. And where's my hacksaw? Hacksaw, hacksaw, where'd you go? There you are. One of these days I'll bolt this vise down to the table. Oh, you can't see it. Whee! There we go. Bolt the vise to the floor, but it's nice having it movable when I want to get it out of the way. Ow, ow, ow. Warm. So, back you off. Still warm. Where's my clamp? Where's my clamp? Lock washer. Stick you up there. Whoa, Kelly. Not going to work quite as well as I'd thought it would. Of course, trying to do this on camera and not see what I'm doing at the same time does make it interesting. Maybe I should have drilled another hole on the other side so I can stick a screwdriver or something down there. Or, instead of trying to do it the difficult way, sort of clean up these threads where I cut it. Actually, I think I'll grind that off a bit. Well, I ground the edges at the end. And that cleaned up pretty good. Okay, I can still get it started. Alright, so let's run the nut, or run the shaft in there. Put it in till it bottoms. Where's my clamp. There's my clamp. Clamp on. Sorry, I can't see this part very well. Trying to show y'all what I'm doing and doing it at the same time is a sort of problematic. And something I just thought of what else will be problematic is tightening this nut down. But it does have a lock washer, so I can just hopefully maybe just spin the clamp and it'll tighten down by itself. Sort of, kind of, not really. Alright. Grab my needle nose. You still can't see what it's doing, but anyway. You may not, but I can now. There. And nice and tight. Let's see. Oy. Hey, it works. Nice little drill. And there it be, the completed little camera clamp mount.